Now I have the pleasure to invite Stephen Rockefeller. Stephen is the Professor Emeritus of Middlebury College in the USA, and he was the chair of the drafting committee of the Earth Charter back in the 90s, and now he's the current co-chair of Earth Charter International. Stephen will give us the keynote address of the conference. So thank you, Stephen. Let's receive him with applause.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And I just recognize Rosina Omar and Sudarshan Iyengar, who will be participating in this panel discussion following my remarks. And I also want to thank Enrique for this wonderful contribution he has made to the Earth Charter Initiative with this music. Reaching people through music, through art, through performance is a very important dimension of this whole undertaking. Now, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to any of you who have just joined the conference. We certainly did have a stimulating first section. I would like just to say how wonderful it is to experience this beautiful weather we're having. When I was here some years ago, the last time I was in India the occasion was the 60th birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And the event took place in July, and the temperature got up to 120 degrees in New Delhi. And on the last day of the birthday celebration, His Holiness, who has a good sense of humor, said that if he had known that his birthday was going to be celebrated on July 7th in New Delhi, he never would have been reincarnated on July 7th. Now, I just also want to comment that the story of the place where we find ourselves right now has a lesson to teach us. As Kartikeya Sarabhai said, only 30 years ago, this was a barren lot in the middle of an industrial city. And today, 30 years later, it is a small forest teeming with birds and animals, and together with several hundred people working here. And it's a demonstration of what vision, creativity, and caring can do. And I congratulate Kartikeya and everybody here at CEE on what they have done with this property, and it is a living example of what we're all seeking. Now, as we begin our deliberations about the Earth Charter and an ethical framework for a sustainable world, I'd like to share with you a few reflections about some of the issues, challenges, and responsibilities that we all have as we go forward with the Earth Charter Initiative. And at the outset, I'm going to make a few general comments on why the Earth Charter remains profoundly relevant as we enter the second decade of the 21st century. The dangerous environmental trends, the extreme poverty and the gulf between rich and poor, and the other critical social problems that prompted construction of the concept of sustainable development over 25 years ago continue to cast a dark shadow over the human future. Progress has been made on some fronts, but by and large, the forces that threaten the health of Earth's ecosystems and human security and well-being have not been effectively countered and reversed. Sustainability has remained an elusive goal. At the same time, the interdependence of all peoples continues to grow and deepen. We are well on our way into an era of global history. Humanity does have the potential to build a well-ordered world community and to create a promising future. But to realize that possibility, the world's peoples must come together and cooperate as never before, and make hard choices necessary to redirect the course of events. Now, given the human situation in 2010, the need for a widely shared, inclusive ethical framework to guide the transition to a sustainable future is more urgently needed today than ever. The Earth Charter, which is the product of a decade-long worldwide cross-cultural dialogue on common goals and shared values, provides such an ethical vision coupled with a call to action. No United Nations or civil society document or declaration has replaced the Earth Charter to date. Further, those declarations that have appeared are not the product of the kind of multi-year, inclusive, participatory process that produced the Earth Charter, and that has given the Earth Charter its legitimacy as a guiding ethical framework. This is not to deny that some very significant documents have appeared, and in my remarks as we go forward, I'm going to comment on some of them. Now, there is a consensus today at the United Nations and at intergovernmental meetings that there are distinct but interrelated social, economic, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. They are often described as the 3 pillars of sustainable development. This understanding is sound as far as it goes, but it does not go far enough or deep enough. And in this regard, I want to just refer to the book that Ruud Lubbers wrote last year on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Earth Charter. And today he commented about the 4 P's: people, planet, profit, and pneuma, which is the Greek word for spirit, emphasizing the great importance of spirituality for sustainable development. And I want to build on Ruud's analysis and argue that in addition to the 3 pillars that we often talk about, the environmental, economic, and social, there is a 4th pillar. This 4th pillar is the global ethical consciousness that is expressed in the Earth Charter. And the truth of the matter is that this 4th pillar should really be seen as the 1st pillar of a sustainable way of life, because it involves the internalization of the values of sustainable development and provides the inspiration and motivation to act, as well as essential guidance regarding the path to genuine sustainability. So I'm arguing then that this global ethical and spiritual consciousness that you find expressed in the Earth Charter, that is emerging throughout the world in all cultures, and that has brought many of you here. You're in the grip of it, and all of us are awakening to this global ethical consciousness. This is the real 1st pillar of sustainable development. Now, the careers of Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. are prime examples of the critical importance of ethical and spiritual vision and commitment in the process of social, economic, and political transformation. There is a saying that the dream drives the action. At the heart of a compelling dream is a vision of what is good, right, and just. And the dream impels action when it inspires commitment and hope. The lack of progress in the transition to sustainability is often attributed to a lack of political will. What is generally not acknowledged is that the lack of political will reflects a lack of ethical vision and moral courage among our leaders, and to some degree among most of us, we the people. The Earth Charter recognizes the ethical and spiritual, as well as the environmental, social, and economic dimensions of the Sustainable Development Challenge. Now, at this juncture, let me just clarify what I mean by ethics and ethical values. The ethical values of an individual or a community concern what they judge to be good and bad, right and wrong in human conduct and relations. In his book, Gandhi's Truth, Erik Erikson makes an important distinction between moralism and ethics. He writes, "Ethics is marked by insightful assent to human values, whereas moralism is blind obedience, and ethics is transmitted with informed persuasion rather than enforced by absolute interdicts. Our ethical understanding of what is good and right in our relationships will be influenced by custom and tradition, but it develops and matures with rational reflection, deepening self-knowledge, and experiential insight. Our ethics reflect what kind of person we choose to be and what quality of community life we choose to sustain. Choice is essential to ethical growth." Now, before leaving this discussion of the Earth Charter and the emerging global ethical and spiritual consciousness, I want to highlight the major elements of this global consciousness. It is global because it is shaped by a deepening awareness of our increasing global interdependence, which involves the interdependence of humanity and Earth's ecosystems, as well as the interdependence of all peoples. The Earth Charter therefore declares that we have a threefold ethical responsibility that extends to one another, to the greater community of life, and to future generations. The Earth Charter makes a special emphasis that people are part of the greater community of life and that a healthy environment is the foundation of human well-being. Further, the Earth Charter reflects the realization that without an expansion of humanity's sense of ethical responsibility, involving a willingness to give other life forms moral consideration, it will not be possible to achieve the goal of environmental protection and sustainable development. An anthropocentric worldview that regards the larger natural world as just a collection of resources to be exploited by people is one root cause of our ecological and social crisis. The first principle of the Earth Charter is therefore the imperative: respect Earth and life in all its diversity. And note that the word diversity in the Earth Charter appears right up front in the first principle. And the second principle is care for the community of life with understanding, compassion, and love. And that principle reflects the values of the great religious traditions, compassion and love. The word understanding is incorporated in there because compassion and love also needs knowledge. It needs understanding in the sense of good, solid science. But science without compassion and love, the head without the heart, is incomplete. And this is a big part of our problem today. The ethical life begins with respect. We'll only care for what we truly respect and regard as having value, quite apart from its utilitarian value for people. The Earth Charter is a world-affirming, life-centered document that views caring for Earth and caring for people as two sides of one great task. Now, regarding the spiritual dimension of the new ethical and spiritual consciousness, the Earth Charter affirms a number of universal spiritual values, including a sense of belonging to the universe, reverence for the mystery of being, gratitude for the gift of life, and humility about the human place in the natural world. All of these spiritual attitudes support and strengthen commitment to the ethical values and ideals set forth in the Earth Charter. Now, it's the ethical and spiritual vision in the Earth Charter that illuminates the deeper challenge inherent in the concept of sustainable development as a guiding socioeconomic ideal. Sustainable development is often viewed as business as usual with a variety of green adjustments, such as increased energy efficiency. However, if the dangerous trends in our patterns of production and consumption are to be reversed, a more radical understanding of what sustainable development in a green economy involves is required.